StockPulse on location, Sprott Resource Symposium in Vancouver. I've got the one and only Brent Cook, Exploration Insights. Brent, always fantastic to see you.
Yeah, good to see you in Vancouver.
So, first of all, let's talk about the gold market here before we get into what you talked about. Gold's at a good spot. We're in summer here. What do you kind of survive on the atmosphere of the resource sector?
I think it's certainly improved. $1,400 gold's not a bad starting spot. I think the general consensus is that it's probably going higher more than lower. A lot of fundamentals behind that. So gold space looks good. Copper further out looks really good. There's a dearth of good copper deposits. And so that's kind of where we're focusing as well, Joe and I.
You guys gave a talk about turning rocks into money. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
That's what's key. I mean, we're all here looking at these junior exploration companies. We know that 90+% of the prospects that are even in that room are probably not going to amount to anything economic. So what our job is, and what retail investors' job should be, is to identify what's not working, a fatal flaw in a project, before the rest of the market sees it, whatever it is. Because your normal chart runs up, things looking good, and then something goes wrong and it collapses. If you can pick what's going wrong up here, you can still make decent money without losing all that money on the downside. And if you can't find what's wrong, you just keep running it higher. But that's really what it's about. So you got to look at the geology, you got to look at metal recovery, how you get the metal back. And so we went through a number of different examples, I guess you would say, of what has worked and what hasn't worked, what went wrong on this project, that sort of thing.
So, and obviously utilizing your services will allow those people to identify what's wrong.
That's the idea, obviously. That's what Joe and I do, and that's what we've done our whole lives. And this is a tough sector. There's so much complexity that comes into this. And finding a deposit, then, designing a mine, defining it, going through the resource estimate, how's it going to be recovered, where you're at, your technical studies, your engineering studies, your environmental studies, your social studies. It just goes on and on and on. So there's a lot to this.
Sure, yeah. I can never get through this maze alone, I don't think. You guys you and Mickey touched on at the bar here a while back, I think it was at PDAC, about press releasing, about companies putting releases out with really no explanation, a bunch of numbers, a bunch of graphs. Hard to understand for a layman, certainly, and maybe a sophisticated buyer would get it. Talk about how important it is for these guys to lay out their news in a way that we understand it.
No, that's key. I see that all too often. You've got probably geologists writing the report to people who don't understand geology. I think a good news release should include, a couple paragraphs. This is what's important, very simply what's going on, and then a whole bunch of data after that. And I think if companies really smart, they should take advantage of media and have the president put out just a 5-minute video saying, this is what we found, this is the importance of it, thanks for being shareholders. It's personal, and everything's so much multimedia now, and that, why not take advantage of it?
And find a younger audience who doesn't understand half of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So let's kind of put the crystal ball out here. How do you see the end of the year going for gold and some of these equities?
I think gold stays higher, keeps going higher. I don't see a dramatic jump, but we'll see what happens. It's kind of weird out there. And I think we'll see copper flat, base metals more or less flat, but there's going to be more money coming into the sector, and we should start to see the junior companies start to get some momentum behind them, and I think we're going to start to see generalists funds and such come into the sector, starting at the top. So we're going to see the big companies start moving first, and they are already. They continue moving, and it's going to filter down to the juniors by the end of the year. That's what I think is going to happen, and that's what I hope.
So best way to people follow you?
explorationinsights.com. That's our website. There's lots of information on there that I think is useful. I think you can, if you're interested, you can get hold of Joe and I. Our letter comes out weekly. It's about what Joe and I are buying and selling with our own money, what we're seeing in the market. And if you don't like it, you can quit after a month.
And you're actively on the road looking projects?
Last year we visited 30-something projects. This year probably about the same. I just got back from Australia. Joe was just in Mexico. We were in Japan earlier this year, Guatemala, Africa. Where else have been? Anyway, all over the damn place.
Wow. Okay, that's Brent Cook, Exploration Insights. Appreciate the time as always, Brent.
Thanks.